Accordion. Tarmain Orm away on Shaw. And I am the only thing between you and zero hunger, so let's get to it. So today's presentation, I put together the slides, you probably see them up there, but invaluable contributions to it by my colleague, Alejandro Criado, who's a postdoctoral researcher in Department of Structural and Civil and Environmental Engineering in Trinity College, and our master's student, Paddy Gishar. And pretty much the story I'm going to tell today is about final year project. So we're pretty much tuning in to the previous presentation there, which was also about where do final year projects go. And in this regard, previously I would have given a similar topic to what Paddy is doing there as a very general and generic topic of, differences between centralized and decentralized solutions in optimization and control, because that's what I mostly do, and most of my research previously would have been rather generic in that regard. But sure enough, as things started developing over the last couple of years in terms of the accelerated crises that have been quite striking and quite impactful on all of us. And like this photo is literally from 2021, COVID, Dublin. And it does alert us in terms of, where we are in terms of our crisis management, our status quo preservation, and doing business as usual. So pretty much there, the idea was, let's move away from it and see exactly what are the differences between designing for the actual world and designing for business as usual. And that was rather a provocative prompt, again, coming back to the topic of provocation from the first presentation today. I do that sometimes in my classes. There's that bit from Mike Davis, where he would start his classes by asking people, if I give you a bomber airplane with a full load of bombs, unlimited amount of bombs, what would you bomb in your city? And how would you change the city by essentially bombing it? Just to discover that you can't really change things by bombing them, because the status quo does tend to be re-establishing itself. And in terms of how crises go, no crisis goes without being exploited to the full. Again, going back to the first presentation, so pretty much that's where the business as usual gets restructured again. And there's no better case study for this rather than, say, the one in Cuba and Haiti, reconstruction in both of the islands after crises that have been both environmental and political for both of those. Are quite illustrative of how the approaches and goals and the ideas of business as usual compared to different sorts of targets. Again, coming back to Jenny's presentation at the very beginning, the one we had on video, is rather striking and was quite the inspiration behind this. Because Alejandro, in his work on sanitation and decentralized solutions, does make the point of decentralized solutions oftentimes being rather expensive in terms of optimization and control, and approaching resources from a somewhat compartmentalized perspective. And oftentimes you think, listen, it's easier for me to actually operate in a centralized manner, to actually have a command and control system that can do a lot of things in one place. And that way we can actually have higher capacity. And sure enough, that is rather the case if you're operating in perfect conditions, if you're operating in business as usual conditions. So if you don't have to build up resilience, and if you don't have to create your networks to be robust to whatever sort of crises may strike it. So if you can afford to have a multi-gigawatt power plant and focus your system around it, that's great. But in the process of multiple crises hitting you and your infrastructure, you might reconsider that and go for a much more distributed, localized solutions. So, for instance, the power grid of Cuba is quite a good example, even though the question is how long can such a system go in ridiculously hard both climate and political conditions for the country. So with all that, we went on to study the question of reconstruction of wastewater treatment in Gaza. So pretty much when we started this project, which was October last year, we had an idea that at some point there will be a ceasefire, there will be a process of reconstruction, and that there needs to be a program of short, mid, and long-term solutions for wastewater treatment in that space. Because I'll tell you that the wastewater treatment in Gaza, the biggest German-built facility in the Strip, was one of the first targets after the Al-Aqsa flood in 2023. So from that perspective, we saw that a centralized solution in such a space is quite an easy target, quite difficult to maintain, quite difficult to protect, and brings into danger, into health hazards, 1 million people straight away. And I'll actually ask you to remember that number, 1 million, because we might come back to that a bit later. So pretty much here we are talking about solutions that we need for straight away, yesterday, in terms of wastewater treatment in Gaza, but also where are we going to be in 5 or 10 years. So with that in mind, here's what Paddy has been working on. So it's an integration of, I have this in nice notes somewhere. Yeah, so it's an integration of housing, water, and agriculture systems. And we're aiming for a modular construction with local architecture. And it's a decentralized, again, wastewater treatment that's energy efficient and combines water and power. So we are looking at, and I'm looking at John Gallagher here. We have nexus perspective here with water and energy, and we are again contextualizing things very locally. So we're pretty much building a consortium nowadays, and we called our project Bidra, which means seed in Arabic. And it's our decentralized approaches for habitation, resilience, and urban agriculture. Because again, we are very much connected there in terms of both these social networks that are being created, but also agriculture around these decentralized wastewater treatment facilities. And just conscious of the time here, Ringsend serves a bit more than 1 million people. And it's a very centralized solution at quite the forefront of climate change for Dublin. So in a matter of years or decades, we might see critical environment conditions affecting our own capability to operate within this context. So this is not exactly a problem that's far removed or a problem that is imaginary, even if the current context might be somewhat removed from right here and right now. So with that in mind, I suppose I'll just wrap up here and take any questions. Good, Marcus.